Hey, so I'm here with Scott Hochgesang, and Scott, where are we?
Hey Ken, we're at Epping today. We're in a penthouse unit in a new project of units that was completed a few months ago. This one's actually for sale, and the developers put a discount of $55,000 on it. Check out these views.
Perfect. So we're going to talk more about property, and we're just going to step inside and get into the questions. So Scott, tell us a little bit about the property market.
Thanks for the introduction, Ken.
No problem.
Look, for the Sydney property market, we're seeing a lot of changes at the moment. You're reading and hearing about it in the media that things are slow. We're seeing new projects of units where units are not all sold, so we've got completed units that are coming up for sale. Developers are putting discounts on those units, just like the one we're in here today. We're seeing a lot more land come onto the market in some of the outer suburbs where investors and home buyers can build new homes.
Yep.
It's becoming much more of a buyer's market.
Nice. And over the weekend, because you frequently travel to Queensland, tell us a little bit more about what's happening up in Queensland.
Well, thank you. I spent 3 days up on Brisbane and in the Sunshine Coast, and did a lot of touring around. We met with a lot of developers. We saw a lot of units in Brisbane that are completed, and of course you're seeing developers putting large discounts on those to move their stock. Sure. We headed out to the Sunshine Coast, where I've taken many investors to build new properties, and it's still going as fast as a rocket. They're still building like mad out there, and a lot of people are moving to the Sunshine Coast.
So you are seeing a difference in the pace of the Sydney market versus the Queensland market? Or?
I think that's kind of the big takeaway. You need to be very careful making generalizations, because our media are going to say that many markets in Australia are going downhill at the moment, but selectively there certainly are markets that haven't had the big run-up of the Sydney and Melbourne, and they're still growing, you know, and there's good opportunities out there for investors to get in those markets today.
Right, perfect. So we do kind of catch up regularly about, for a networking event every fortnight on a Thursday morning. I might create a video, see how we go in that particular regard, but you did mention about dual occupancy properties, and I found that quite interesting. Would you like to share or talk a little bit more about the dual key or dual occupancy kind of properties for investors who are looking at it?
Sure, Lex. One of the areas, types of properties I specialize in, we're very good at finding locations to build dual key homes. So a dual key home is going to have 2 units in it that can both be rented out separately.
Sure.
You can get very good rental yields from having those 2 tenants in there. One that we just completed on the Sunshine Coast was in one of the hinterland suburbs on the train line between the Sunshine Coast and Brisbane. It was built for $605,000 and was rented first week for $810 a week.
Right.
Good rental yield and some really good cash flow. We had a very, very happy investor with that one.
Yeah, sure. And I guess, out of curiosity, in terms of the environment or the surroundings and the suburbs that these dual occupancies are in, is there much happening, like in terms of infrastructure spending and things like that, or?
Well, you want to go into areas where there is a lot of new infrastructure going into an area. So in those pockets of the Sunshine Coast, they're upgrading the train line that runs to Brisbane. So they're going to be spending about $800 million to dual track that train line. And these particular pockets are along that train line. So we're going to see much faster train speeds to Brisbane and faster population growth in those areas.
All right, perfect. So thank you very much for sharing some of those insights in terms of what's happening in both the Sydney and the Queensland market, Scott. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, Ken.
If you do want more details from Scott in terms of leveraging his property specialist as an investor or even a home buyer, I'll leave the details below, and you can certainly get in touch with Scott.